Hello everybody. So, I know it's Tuesday and haven't done my weigh-in yet or anything. However, I know that I said that I would do weekly videos. Tired today. Currently I'm just sitting and chilling. Youngest has Girl Scout meeting. So I am chilling out in the car, knitting, which keeps my mind off of things for the most part. Overall, the week is going pretty good. I have managed to track my food 4 days out of 7 this week, thus far. I have not tracked my dinner yet. I will do that after dinner when I can sit down with Mom and she can help me figure out, how many points and all that kind of stuff. Now, the cool thing is 3 out of the last 4 days that I have tracked, I have remained within my points. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. Yesterday I had somewhere between 5 and 8 points left over by the time all was said and done. Now, for over the course of a couple of days, I didn't have my Fitbit on, because every time I thought about putting on my Fitbit, we were already out the door. Now, Sunday, it's actually kind of funny because I sat there and I looked at my Fitbit and I'm like, I'm going to put my Fitbit on before we go. I'm going to put my Fitbit on after I get dressed. And I'm going to make sure that I'm wearing it before we go. We get out the door, we get down the street, and I'm like, crap. Because guess what? I forgot my Fitbit. I know, right? What fell? Oh, okay. I'm not going to worry about that. Such is my life. Well, it's all good because I still tracked what I did on Sunday. I still tracked my activities because we went to the mall. Mom and I went to the mall. And we walked around for at least an hour. And we hit up Barnes & Noble and we did some digging on looking for a couple of other things that were needed. And then, so I tracked that. And we get in the car, I look at Mom and I'm like, okay, how do we want to handle lunch? Do we just want to go home? Is there someplace particular you want to stop? Because there's Sherry's, which has plenty of foods that are Weight Watcher friendly and everything else. And she says, how about Arby's? Now, neither of us had been to Arby's in forever. And I love Arby's. Love Arby's. Now, depending on the day, I will generally get the double roast sandwich. Because I really, really, really like the meat. However, I went with a single. No cheese. I put on some Arby's sauce. And I had medium curly fries Enjoyed every bite of that. Oh my god, I love curly fries. And I had a medium root beer. Now, bearing in mind, okay, I didn't just have a medium root beer. I had a medium root beer with a crap ton of ice in it. Meaning I fill my cup all the way up with ice. And then I add the root beer. So by the time I am done drinking my root beer, which it took most of the afternoon to do, by the time I'm done drinking my root beer, the ice is well melted, watering down the root beer as it goes, which also helps stretch it, by the way. And I was fine. Now, Mom and I had two very different experiences in regards to eating. We both enjoyed our meal, you know, but Mom was able to confirm that the path that she has chosen is the right one. And I'm not getting into details on that. It's not my place. So don't ask. But Mom has discovered that she needs to tweak the things that she's doing a little bit to better suit her own health. Dad has opted to tweak things in a way that he sees fit to suit his health. Then there's the kids and I. So, I'm trying to figure out how... Okay, so think of it this way, okay? Eating plans are a spectrum. Hold that thought for a second. It'll be a lot easier once I'm done with this row. I know, I'm sitting here talking to you and knitting and paying attention to the time because Girl Scouts and... yeah. And keeping an eye out because my other half might message me, so hard to say. Anyway. So, eating plans, meal plans, okay? There's a spectrum. Alright? Think of it as a spectrum. So, on the one end, you've got Mom. On the other end, you've got Dad. Okay? The kids and I pretty well fall, you know, anywhere in the middle. I have absolutely no issues eating whatever Mom makes. I have no issues eating whatever Dad makes. And if the two of them decide to mix it up together, then even better. You know, I love vegetarian meals. I love salads. I love soups. Well, I mean, it comes back down to the whole reason I'm doing the whole Weight Watcher thing in the first place. I love food. Period. Okay? That is my problem. I love food. Okay? But at the same time, while I do like, you know, vegetarian and vegan meals, I like a little bit of meat. Now, the only reason that I am not vegan is because it takes a certain balance. And we all have to figure out our own balance. Okay? anybody who decides to cut meat or animal-based products out of their eating habits, okay, there is a balance that they have to achieve, because you don't want to overdo, but you don't want to underdo the amount of nutrients that you need. You know, there are certain things that you need in your everyday consumption. You know, you need protein, you need, you know, all the vitamins and nutrients that come from fruits and vegetables, and, you know, you need all that. So you have to find, when you take out a protein, you have to replace that. So you have to find a balance. The first time I decided to go vegetarian, I didn't go completely vegan, I went vegetarian. I still ate cheese, I still enjoyed sour cream and eggs and whatnot. I just did not want meat. I didn't want the beef, I didn't want the chicken, and definitely didn't want the pork. Over the last few years, I have completely lost my taste for pork. I'll still eat it. It's just not very appetizing to me. It doesn't feel good. But I'll eat it if it's cooked. And I tried replacing my protein. Could not find the right balance. And because I couldn't find the right balance, it made me sick. That was a teenager. That was the first time I tried. The second time I tried, well, now I've got 2 kids I have to think about. And I'm not having them on vegetarian anything. Too young for that. You know, and if you talk to a lot of your doctors, they will tell you, you know, don't. And that's just based on research that I have done through the years. You know, but I want my kids to experience eating meats and whatnot. You know, I want them to be able to say, oh yeah, you know, I do or don't like that, and make up their own minds. You know, I'm not going to force my eating habits on my children, or anyone else for that matter. So round 2. Trying to substitute my own protein intake while providing a proper meal for the kids. That wasn't working. Once again, I couldn't find the right balance for protein for myself, so I ended up going back and eating chicken and whatnot. And at that point, I just kind of gave up on the whole vegan thing, the whole vegetarian thing. It just, not in the cards for me. I may not enjoy meat very much, but, you know, I still know a good meal when I taste it. And that's just how it is. You know, everybody has to find their own balance, because everybody's body chemistry is going to be a little bit different. You know, some people need a little extra protein in their meal plans, and some people can use a little bit less. For me, it's a fine line, because if, for example, if I eat just chicken, okay, let's say I'm hungry, nothing else sounds good, fine, I'll just eat whatever chicken is available. So let's say I toss back 2 pieces of chicken. Nothing else. No salad, no potatoes, no fruits, you know. Chicken's it. It's the only thing that sounds edible in that moment. Depending on how my body is doing, that will make me sick. Because all I ate was a protein. I didn't have anything else to balance that out. The flip side of that, I know I talk with my hands. But the flip side of that is if I don't have a protein in a meal, it has the potential to make me feel sick too. So how do I balance that? Well, something that I have been really enjoying the last few weekends. I've been on this salad kick on the weekends for some god-awful reason. Nothing wrong with it. It has been really, really good. You know, but for just whatever reason, I've just really wanted salad. But I wanted meat in the mix. And I'm not talking lunch meat because, ew, no. That's not even remotely appetizing to me. I don't eat lunch meat hardly ever these days because it just doesn't feel good. It doesn't taste good to me. It just kind of, ew. And that's including the honey ham, because the honey ham has always been my favorite. I'm even turning that down because just, ew. So what I have done the last few weekends is we have had leftover chicken that we've fixed for meals. And if I know that nobody else is going to want it, I'll snag one or two. And there we go. Okay, so there's my protein for the weekend. You know, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, whatever it is that I'm needing it for, there's the start of my meal plan. You'll notice that I'm trying my best to avoid using the word diet because it's not a fun word. Really not. You know, you think diet and you think this, you know, roller coaster. No. If I'm saying diet, then I'm talking about specific eating habits. You know, I'm talking more meal planning type diet, you know, dietary needs. As opposed to diet weight loss. When it comes to weight loss, I prefer lifestyle changes because that's what it takes. So anyway, so starting out with a piece of chicken. Bone in, skin on. Skin's my favorite part. I am not gonna set that aside. Not yet. I'm pretty sure eventually I probably will. Maybe. I don't know yet. We'll find out. Maybe not. That may be one of those things that, like coffee, I'm just not going to give up. That's yet to be determined. That's a case of we shall see what we shall see. So, alright. So we start off with the chicken. Okay. What am I going to have with this chicken? Open the fridge. Okay, there's various types of lettuce. Spinach being my favorite. So grab a handful or 3 of that. That makes a good sized salad. I mean, and I'm not getting like these little handfuls. No. I'm talking big ol' honking handfuls. Okay? Big handfuls. Just remember, multiple meals in this one thing that I'm planning. I will add avocado, if it's available. I will add tomatoes. Gotta have mushrooms. Oh my god, I love mushrooms. I will snack on mushrooms alone. Really good. You know, and whatever other little stuff that catches my fancy. And I'll put all the ingredients in separate little containers or baggies, depending on what's available, what we have laying around. And then into my lunch bag it goes. You know, and I keep it all separate because as soon as I put it all together, you know, there starts the countdown. I want to keep it all separate, so I keep everything individually fresh as long as I can. I don't want everything all thrown together because that can just, it's not quite so appetizing, you know, when you go back to eat it later. So I get it all put together, and I will typically use, yes, you guys can laugh at me. I will typically use ranch dressing more often than not. I know it's a little higher in points. Mayonnaise based. You know, my other favorite go-to is Thousand Island. I do not do fat-free. I have tried the fat-free thing and I don't like it. But that's the other thing. You got to figure out what is worth it to you. And that goes with everything you eat. It really does. You know, if you take into account how you feel after a meal, you know, if you feel really good after a meal and you feel satisfied and it tasted good and you want more of it, you know, maybe you're not hungry for more, but you know you're going to want the recipe again at some point. Okay, regardless of what you put in it, you got to think to yourself, okay, is it worth it? What makes it worth it? Is there something that I can tweak? Or is it fine just the way it is? Sometimes you tweak it, sometimes you don't. And, you know, but you got to figure out whether it's worth it or not, you know? Arby's. Let's go back to Arby's for a second. To me, it was worth every bite. It was worth every point. I went over my points, and I didn't mind it. Because in the moment, it was fantastic. It was satisfying. I didn't overeat, but I wasn't hungry afterwards. I was content. And it was a medium instead of a large. Now for Mom, not quite so worth it. There were parts of it that were worth it to her, I'm sure. But not all of it. And I could see that. Which is why it confirmed to her, you know, the choices that she's making. She's on the right path. Me? In some ways, I'm still trying to figure out my path. You know, but it's going to take time. It is. It's going to take time. You know, sometimes something will come along and just kind of whop me upside the head, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can do this, and bam, there you go, there's another piece of the puzzle. Other times I'm just kind of like, I don't know, George, and it just kind of, you know, requesting flyby. Flyby granted. Whoosh. You know. But you gotta figure out what it's worth. What's worth it. Now, all the walking that I did, because after lunch, you know, I took Mom home, I dropped her off. Monday I was planning on going, the goal was to go in and have my wisdom tooth taken out. I was looking forward to it. I had been waiting for more than a year to be able to do this. I had already had to reschedule it once. And I'll be damned if I was going to reschedule it again. Well, I went to the store. And I picked up some things that I knew that I was going to need. I picked up some soups. You know, nice hearty soups. No, I don't know the points. But considering that I'm probably not going to do a whole lot of eating afterwards, you know, I know that I chose the soups carefully. So I know that they're going to be good. And I know they're going to be worth it. Okay? It's just not bland. It's not just broth. You know, it's soup. One is a loaded baked potato soup, by the way. You know, but I'm not going to do a whole lot of eating after I have my tooth removed. Not many people do. So I want something that's going to be worth it. Maybe a little higher end points, you know, but it has to sustain me, you know, through this until I am well enough to be able to go back to eating like I do. And so I picked up some soups and I picked up some vitamin water, which I know. And I plan on drinking regular water. However, when I do a lot of sleeping, I tend to get a little dehydrated. So now you get the point. You know, and I've got some of it at work and I've got some of it at home. You know, but I'm putting a lot of planning into this. And I was mad because they called me yesterday. And they're like, it's too hazardous to come in. We gotta reschedule. And I'm like, I don't want to reschedule, but we have to reschedule. So we rescheduled next Monday. For earlier too. So yeah. The sooner the better. We'll see what happens because we have another freaking snow system coming in. So hopefully I'll actually get there and be able to get it done. And yeah, I just want to get it done. You know, it's bothering me. It hurts on occasion. Out. Be done. You know, kind of like talk to the hand because the rest don't give it. You know. But anywho, I know I'm kind of talking in circles a little bit, but I've got a lot of thoughts, you know. And overall, I feel pretty good about this week. You know, I've done a lot of moving around. You know, I know that I hit my step goal at least once this week. And it feels good. You know, I'm incorporating different exercises. I'm learning how to look up those exercises in the Weight Watcher app and applying them. I don't know the names of all the exercises that I do, so, you know, it's kind of hit and miss with some of it. But I'm working on it. You know, and we're all a work in progress. You know, I don't care if you're trying to lose weight or not. You're a work in progress. We all are. You know, you're not on this earth and not a work in progress. You know, we are a work in progress until long after we're dead. My personal opinion, mind you. You know. But it's been a good week. A little bit of struggles, a little bit of stress, you know. But, yeah. A little bit of struggle, a little bit of stress. You know, Monday, cabin fever hit all 5 of us. On a big scale. And by the end of the day, you know, I noticed that Dad was seeming a little grumpy. Nana was grumpy. I was grumpy.